My trip to South America wasn't my normal wildlife watching adventure. Instead, it was a journey through some of South America's best hotels, best restaurants, and seen mainly from the back seat of a car when I wasn't sitting in a meeting room. This is Lima. And what can you learn about a place when you're vining and dining or being driven around? Turns out quite a bit. My trip took me to Lima and Buenos Aires and Santiago, three of South America's most cosmopolitan cities. In Chile, I learned that the country had been relatively undiscovered until the 1900s. Its border in the north with Peru prevented invaders from coming from that direction, and the Andes was a natural barrier for anyone that might have wanted to come from the east. And of course, the ocean, getting to Chile that way, is very difficult. But things have changed. The world has discovered Chile and Santiago. Most of the buildings are new and have been built in the last 15 years. It has a very modern flavor to the country, and it's a very attractive place to do business. Chile has over a third of the world's copper resources, and it leads South America in growth. It also leads the world in earthquakes. The largest earthquake in the world was here in Chile. Back in 1960, there was an earthquake that killed 1,600 people. It was 9.5 on the seismic scale. In 2010, there was one at 8.8, which was extremely large and damaged places like this vineyard. Fortunately, Chile is a country of wealth and is well organized, and much of the damage is being repaired or has been repaired already, as you can see here at this vineyard. Most of us have probably had the chance to drink Chilean wine, even if we haven't made it to Chile, and we know it's really good stuff. They actually have over 70 vineyards in the country, and it's the 5th largest exporter of wine. Chileans also have a close relationship to the ocean. It's where they go to relax, like at Viña del Mar here, or at Valparaiso, where it's been designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site because of the funiculars that you can see here and the old architecture. The Chileans love to come here so they can relax and eat at some of their great restaurants, drink the great wine, taste a pisco sour perhaps, maybe spend some time walking along the promenade here in the ocean. It actually felt a lot like Monte Carlo, and in fact there are large casinos here. Now these buskers were fairly entertaining, although not so much as this guy who seemed to think that juggling with fire in traffic next to full gas tanks was a safe and responsible way to entertain us. Now the water along these coasts is too cold to swim in, even in the summertime, but it is a great habitat for fish, and Chile produces some excellent seafood, as you can tell by the meals I was eating. Chile's coastline also meant that Chile needed to develop a good navy, and they do. They've got 25,000 people in the navy. Apparently it's the most capable and professional in the Americas, and they've been protecting Antarctica since 1947, and from what I understand, they've been doing a lot to help the whales in the area. The Chileans also helped the British when they were in the area for the Falkland Wars, which is part of the reason that the Chileans and the Argentinians don't really like each other. Buenos Aires in Argentina is a metropolitan area of about 13 million people. In fact, 1 of every 2 Argentinians lives in the city. Buenos Aires has a very strong European feeling. You can see it in the boulevards and the streets. You can tell in the restaurant meals. Large numbers of Italians immigrated here, and the pasta is to die for. Argentinians take their soccer very seriously, and they take their barbecue very seriously. As Canadians, we often eat supper and then go out for several hours in the evening. In Argentina, that's different. They'll have a light snack, then they go out for the evening, and then they gather late at night for their final meal. So often what you'll see is large families and groups gathering around 10 or 11 o'clock for some delicious barbecue. So a little late for me, but I gave it my best shot. Argentinians are also very proud of their tango. If you watch Dancing with the Stars, you know that the Argentino tango is one of the most sensual dances and difficult dance to do. This club impressed the heck out of me when, before they started the dance show, they had 2 horses come out and go around very quickly on that small dance floor without pooping in anyone's meal. Argentina has a very diverse economy, although it is a fairly closed economy. Now the cars aren't as old as the ones you'll see in Cuba, but with inflation and interest both running around 20%, it's very hard to get ahead here. Teachers, for example, might make $1,200 a month on average, and it would cost you probably around $250,000 to $300,000 to get a small apartment in the city. So as a result, people tend to live at home until they've saved up, say, half the cost of a property, and then they move out on their own. And what you'll see is a lot of high-density urban living. But there's some great neighborhoods in Buenos Aires, good food, good walking, and great architecture. And you can see why the city is considered one of the best in the world to visit. I guess I'd been expecting something green and lush when I came to Lima, but it was really brown. The buildings were brown, the earth was brown, and the sky was brown. I guess with a population of about 9 million people, you've got to expect a little bit of traffic congestion and some air pollution. I got a kick out of these traffic goddesses. You'd often find them at corners and busy intersections, encouraging people to go forward on the green lights, as if they would do anything else. But often your progress forward was halted for a long time. You could do a lot of your shopping from what I could see here in these traffic jams. And emergency vehicles didn't do any better. I watched this ambulance struggle in vain to try and make progress. When I asked her host how long it took to get to the hospital, he laughed and said, "Well, usually by the time you're dead." So in Lima, it seldom rains. Most of the moisture here comes from condensation from the ocean, and as a result, it's often overcast, or at least it was while I was there. Peru is also a country in great transition. Although the Spanish looted a lot of the gold in the 1500s, there's still lots left. And Peru is the leading exporter of gold in the world, and it's number 2 for copper in South America, right behind Chile. Security has improved in Peru from the days when the Shining Path used to hold up tourists on their buses. But you'll find industry has their manufacturing operations hidden behind these walls, often with guards at the gates. And when you go through the city, you'll often find security guards at most of the stores and the banks. Peru is also the home of the Pisco Sour, a delightful drink created by an American back in the 1930s, and the Peruvians are very proud of it. They actually have a National Pisco Sour Day, celebrated the first weekend of February. Peru has a lot of cultural diversity, and I didn't get to explore it like I normally would like to. But I did get a chance to sample it at this dinner theater. I was always told not to run with scissors, but these guys ran with the scissors, did headstands with the scissors, and then did some sort of inchworm thing with the scissors. So even though the focus of my trip this time was in seeing some of the 7,000 factories in Lima, there was signs that there was more to see. And I look forward to getting back to seeing more of it. Hola!